Hi, Toddy. I just started the live stream. Did you see that? Does it work?
Yes, it does. I saw the message.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Someone is joining in a minute.
Thanks, Pritesh. So let's wait for Samuel. And while we are waiting, I'm sharing the screen. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You.
Okay, I saw Samuel just joined. Hi, Samuel.
Hey team, sorry about that. It just took longer for Zoom to do its new update install for whatever reason. So I'm here now.
No problem. Okay, let's get started. In the screen, I show today's agenda. We have two topics from my side, and mainly focusing on the notation CLI release, and also some other PRs we needed to address post the notation CLI V1 release. I think from last week, we made good progress. We complete many PRs. Let me show the status first. I'm now switching to another page. And this page is the issue that's a proposal for bringing clarity to the Notary project branding. And as I shared last week, I list all these PRs need to be complete before notation CLI V1 release. And we basically complete all of them, except one is this one is about it's an issue is about release specification V1. We will talk about this soon. And another one is about the create glossary. This PR was merged today. We received enough approvals, but based on the discussion of last Thursday, this PR actually not blocking the notation CLI V1 release. And instead, we needed to address another one, which is about the FAQ. So we had a good progress on the PRs. Let me switch back to the agenda. And we have a notation CLI release. This issue opened by Shui, which lists all the mandatory items we needed to complete in order to release notation CLI V1. And based on the list, you can see we still have one PR related to the release checklist. This one we needed to, this one bring more clarity on how to release notation CLI and its dependencies. So this PR needed to be addressed before the V1 release so that we can align the way to release notation CLI. Let me open this one. I think I already opened it. Yeah. Sorry, not this. Yes, this is the PR for the release checklist. And this is on the notation repository. So we need a notation maintainer to review and approve this TR. And I saw Samuel already comment, but Samuel is not the maintainer of a notation repo. So I think Shui and Pritesh and Patrick, please review this PR and approve it. So any comments on this one?
Yeah, I'll go. So I'm not a maintainer, and I have not done a release in last few ones, but it looked all right to me. But have we created a PR? Have we created a? Can we look at the PR which we created for 1.0 for notation for this, and make sure all those steps have been done or in the process of being done? Assuming this checklist holds, can we look at the one we created to see if all of that matches?
This one?
The notation 1.0, where is the notation? Is this the notation 1.0 one? Yes, that's the 1.0, yes. So let's just cross-reference what we wrote to this, whether that matches or not.
Samuel, you mean this issue or a different PR?
No, the one that you were showing that you want Shive and Pritesh to review, that is just checklist of things to do, right?
Yeah, this one.
Yes, and I'm saying, maybe my mic is not perfect. And I'm saying is that let's make sure this checklist is being followed for 1.0 as well.
Yeah, sure. I think that is the purpose for this, for updating this release checklist. Yeah, we once this is approved, we will follow the items as checklist to release notation CLI.
And I agree with you. All I'm saying is let's do it in parallel. Like we can like let's assume that as people look at it, they will approve it. Can we in parallel start the work so that we are not delayed?
Okay, got you. Yeah, any comments from other?
So basically
folks?
what Samir meant is this should not be a blocker for the release. We can even merge it after release once we have tested all the steps which are mentioned here. And which can only be done as a part of release.
If can we agree to remove it then from this list?
Let's just follow it, right? I think if we follow it, we will just merge it at the same time, right? They will go together. If all the steps on it are exactly the steps we execute, then we can just just say we followed the steps.
No, Samir, it won't work, right? Once you tag the release, this won't be in the release. If you follow this step, then you have already tagged the commit for the release, and this PR won't make to that tag.
I see what you're saying now. My bad.
But I think we agreed on this that this was not a blocker. This was a continuous work which would be done till 1.0 release, right? I think Toddy was the one we had discussion with. Yeah.
Yeah, I also remember that we mentioned this PR will be opened while we are releasing notation CLI. So I also think this one will not block notation CLI release. We can do it in parallel and follow the list as described in the PR. So how about the other folks on this? The only thing is that notation CLI V1 release, that package will not include the latest release checklist, but the latest release checklist will be merged into the main later. Any comments from other folks? I saw Pritesh support this idea. How about the others? Shui and Toddy, Feynman, that's this one. Yeah, Feynman, please.
Yeah, I don't have very strong opinion on put this as a blocking issue or blocking PR for releasing V1. But when I updating the release checklist, I find some of those steps or guidelines are outdated and not aligned with the latest release. And even there are a few terminologies which are not aligned with the latest naming. So I think it's nice to have, but not blocking. If we can get enough approvals before the release, that's nice, and that's a perfect result. But if not, we can skip this one and merge it after V1 immediately.
Since we are voting for a detailed commit, that means if we start voting today, as we can do today, if we don't include this PR right now, so we can start voting. But if we have voted the notation V1.00 release, and after that this PR got merged, then we need to restart the voting because the digest has been changed. So we need to decide whether to include this PR or not before voting.
That's
Yeah,
a good justification.
Yeah, my comments that is this PR we can merge it post notation CI release. That means if we start voting now, we don't include this PR, and we don't need to revote again later. So the latest version will be in the main, not in the V1 package.
Yeah, the release list is more like a living document also, right? Like we might find that the instructions to do the release might change for each release. So I think it's okay. It doesn't affect user behavior of the notation CLI. Yeah, I agree with Pratesh. Like let's move this out of the release criteria.
By the way, as you can see that this PR was opened 2 months ago. So that means, and it also has several rounds of review from different maintainers. So I assume this PR completion status is almost done, or I think it's quite close to the merge criteria. So I think if we can get enough maintainers to approve it, it's nice to have for V1. Otherwise, we can move it out from V1 scope. It depends on how fast Pritesh and maybe Pritesh only in this meeting to approve or review this PR.
But when did we add this to the blocking list?
This one is, I think 3 weeks ago, when Shui created this issue for this checklist.
No, the issue is much older than 3 weeks. I don't know when we added that to the blocking. But I remember we agreed that actually this can be, because even the last step, when we actually push the release and announce the blocks, we should add as part of the checklist. So I don't think this should be blocking for the release.
I'm leaning towards this not being a release blocker, but definitely we should get this in ASAP. But cut the release and then move on. I think the release is the priority in my head.
Yeah, the idea of this issue was to actually get all the things that we need to do for release. So unless we do the release, we cannot close that issue. That's my point. So it cannot be blocking for the release.
Yeah, so can we make a decision that this one is not blocking notation CLI release, so we can remove this item? And I also I'm thinking that during the release we might find some issues that we may need to update this PR. So yeah, I suggest that we remove this one from this checklist. Okay, if Shui, how about we remove this from the checklist?
Sure, if we all agree with that, then I can do that, and then we can start voting. I will update the PR accordingly.
Yeah, let me take the note. Sorry, my screen is a bit slow when I'm reaching. So let me take a note. Yeah, it's still freezing my screen. So someone can help me to write down the notes that we agree that the release checklist will not be the blocker. And Shui can.
Don't take it. You can go ahead and go through other items.
Yeah, thanks. Okay. So we just discussed this release checklist, and we agree that this is not a blocker. Then another one is the specification release. I created this issue for the vote for the specification release based on the V1 .0.0 we are targeting on the latest commit. Yeah, I just saw Pritesh voted for it. Let me check. So I think we need one more because we have 9 maintenance. We need one more vote from Mingling.
Yeah, I have pinged Millen and Niaz both. Let's see if they can do it today, or it will be tomorrow for sure.
Yeah, I think this is the first stable release. So, so I request 2/3 supermajority for this specification release. So currently we have 5, and we need one more, so that we can cut the specification release. So Pradesh, you will bring meaning or Nias for it.
Yep, I have already done that, but probably they are offline. They are now they're offline, so I'll follow up with them tomorrow.
Okay, thanks. Any comments around this one, this votes? No, then we can move on. Then back to the list. So as I mentioned that previously, we think the glossary one on the website should be completed before the notation CI V1 release. And last Thursday, we discussed that it is not blocking, but that PR we already reached enough approvals. So the glossary PR were merged. And we have this one, a FAQ to describe the difference. And I think this was discussed last Thursday, right? This should be addressed before notation CI V1 release. So I would like to hear comments whether we can do this one in parallel. I mean, this one should not blocking notation CL1 release as well. We can review this PR in parallel. This is my suggestion. Samuel, please.
I disagree. I think at a minimum, we can use what we approved for the glossary here, because that is sufficient. And we can iterate on this later. So we can leave this open. I would say we can ask Rosalind to merge what we approved for the glossary in this, and then we can create a new one for later.
Glossary one, the glossary PR was already merged because
I know.
yeah.
Yeah. What I'm saying is when we release V1.0, our website, Notary Project or dot website should have that information about the FAQ. So for right now, we can use whatever is approved for the glossary as the content for the FAQ and merge this PR in.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's true. I think Rosalind already did some work, resolved some comments. So I think maybe Samuel, you can take a look. Toddy, please.
Yeah, I'm so a little bit confused. Where does the glossary appear right now on the website? You said that this is merged.
Yeah, it was merged. We received enough approvals for that one. I think we can now find it under the website here. And for the sorry,
I believe
Toddy, please.
Milind's ask was to actually have the FAQ before the release because while the glossary may help a little bit, it was more of a question. Okay, why don't actually we use stuff as a implementation, and why it was needed actually to create a completely new specification and abandon TUF. So those are the things that the glossary, I don't think, answers. So in my conversation with Milind, he was pretty insistent that we have the FAQs. That's why I kind of replied that I think we should have different questions answered as a FAQ, not as a glossary, but it's up to community what we decide for the release.
Okay. So the comments from Samuel and Toddy that we should have this PR merged before notation CLI release, right?
For me, this PR was more important than the glossary PR, right? Because the glossary still kind of doesn't add clarity around these things. It just explains what the things are. But why, for example, notation and the signature specification does not use stuff is not explained, in my opinion.
Okay, that makes sense. And I think Rosalind is actively updating this PR, so there are already some comments resolved. So maybe Samuel, you can take a look, and also Freeman, Toddy, since you requested the changes, maybe you also need to, take a look and remove this request changes. So this PR, let's come back to this list. So this PR will also in this notation CLI release this checklist. So once this was completed, we can cut the release for the notation CLI. Okay, so in summary, we have two things left for the notation CLI release. One is that we needed to cut the specification we want release first. Another thing is we needed to complete this FAQ on the website.
So what's blocking for the specification right now? Did we already go through that? Sorry, I'm not understood.
For the specification, we need one more vote from meaning.
Okay, so
yeah. So any other comments on notation CLI V1 release?
who's the owner for the FAQ?
Currently, it is Rosalind. It's Rosalind on this PR, and yeah, she's actually working on this PR.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, there are
Just-
some comments. Yeah, sorry.
No, I'm just curious as to what's your estimated date by which these two things can be done. Do you think this week is reasonable?
I think so. For this week, we only have 2 left, right? For the once meaning approved it tomorrow for the specification, we can cut the specification, and hopefully today, Rosalind can resolve all the comments, and Toddy, Feynman, Samuel, please take a look. Yeah. Especially Feynman, Toddy, you request the changes. Maybe tomorrow Toddy can take a look on this PR, and today Feynman can work on it.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, so I think if everything goes smoothly, we probably can release by this Thursday. Any comments? So let's targeting this Thursday, okay, for notation CLI we want release. Yeah, if no comments, I will move on to the next item. Okay, I'm switching to the agenda page. The next item is still about some PRs. As you know that if we want to officially announce notation we want, including CLI and the libraries, we needed to have this blog ready, right? And this blog was we already have this PR created by Feynman, and I think Feynman, you already addressed some comments, right? But we still need maintainers to review this blog. Let me open this one.
Yeah, actually, I addressed some comments from Yi, and I saw new comments from Samir, as Samir reviewed last Thursday or Wednesday. I was out of office last Thursday and Friday, so I will need to address the comments from Samir. Yes, Jack approved it, but I think we have 2 requested changes, so I will need to resolve it this week.
Okay, so once you complete this resolving the comments, could you ping Samuel and we can take another look on this PR?
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, this is for the release announcement. So that means once we have a notation CLI released, once this block was merged, we can officially announce notation we want. Okay, there are some other PRs. Actually, those PRs I copied for convenience from this issue. We have this proposal from Toddy, right? And under this issue, I list all the work we needed to complete. And some work we need to complete before notation V1 release, we just addressed them. And there are some others work we also need to review and merge them. But this issue will not block a notation V1 release. So the majority of those PRs are related to the README file on the different repository. So those PRs are already created, and some comments for some PRs were already addressed. So I expect that the maintainer for each repository should actively review those README file. Those are not some big changes, just some updates on the naming and also pointing to the GitHub notation, the GitHub repository README to learn about the Notary project overview. So it's not some big changes. So please, maintainers, actively review those PRs. There is also one related to the governance, related to how we can archive repositories. So we need to have this archiving process ready before we start to vote for archiving some repositories. So this PR was also created. So expect that governance maintainers to review this PR. So any comments so far? Yeah, besides README file and also the archiving process, this governance document, we also need to do some work on the website because on the website, we still have some pages not updated to the according to the latest naming proposal we aligned. So we still have some PRs needed to review to update those incorrect naming. So we have this one created by Duck. I think Duck should resolve some comments on this PR later and ask for a new review on it. I saw some comments, but those comments are not addressed yet. Yeah, so so we still have some work to do to complete this issue that we are trying to bring more clarity for the Notary project branding. So we still have some PRs to do. So any comments?
Let me just have a read at this. Let me make sure there's nothing that we've misaligned. Yeah, it looks right. I think none of them are critical.
Yeah, thanks, Samuel. We can use this issue as a source of truth. So I think we made very good progress and the big we are approaching a very big milestone. We complete they are around 20 PRs. We almost complete more than half of them. Just but still several PRs we need to review so that we can completely solving this branding and naming issue. yeah, we are very close to that. So back to this topic, we need the maintainers from each repository to review the README PRs. We need maybe Fima, you can help me to take a note. We need the governance maintainers to review this archiving process. And we need the Notary project website maintainers to review this this PR to fix the branding and the naming on the website. Okay. Yeah, that's the two topics I created today. I saw we have a new one that Shiwei created a vote for notation V1 release. Let me open that one. Sorry, my screen is freezing, so sometimes it's very slow. Let me open this. Okay, Shiwei, do you think we address this during the meeting? You are asking for the votes, right?
The vote can be after the meeting, but just let us know that this vote is now ready to be voted. It's no longer a draft.
Okay.
And I saw that Milling mentioned that should we trigger a that build. First thing is that the build on the main branch is passing. And also because we have released RC7 for testing the release pipeline. So I don't think it's necessary to have a dev build, but if you have concerns, we can manually trigger a dev build.
Can you share well-meaning provided these comments?
Sorry, it's not meaning. It's British. Wait a second. Yes.
It's Pradesh. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Pradesh just comment this one. That build.
Pradesh, do you want to comment?
I think Pradesh just left. Let me check. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Pradesh just left.
Then I will comment in the PR.
Okay. Okay, so the tag is the latest one, right?
Yes, I have updated.
Okay. Okay, cool. We still have around 15 minutes. Anything else we want to discuss in this meeting? I also saw Myron join this time. Do you have anything you want to discuss or any support you expected?
No. I just joined in to see how the release of V1 is going. After that, I had few ideas coming in. I wanted to like concise them and ask you all about it later. I'll get to you all on that in the next meeting or following one.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, please feel free to add your topics in the agenda so that we can address in the next meeting.
Okay, will do.
Thanks, Myron. Yeah, Freeman, please.
Yeah, actually, I would need Mira to help us test the notation GitHub Actions And I would like to share that the notation GitHub Actions is very close to the first release. And it's not very urgent, but I know, Miriam, you are already using the early version of the notation setup action in your project. So I'm hoping that if you can help us test the notation GitHub Actions and give us feedback, we can share the document with you later.
Okay, will do. I'll go across it on my project and see how that works out.
Yeah,
and
thanks.
give you some
I
feedback
will
for
share
sure.
I will share that link within this week. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Myra and Viman. Anything else?
Nothing from my side.
Yeah, if no, we can give back 15 minutes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
have a nice day and evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
See you. Bye.
Well.